Hi, everyone. It's the Book Cougars, two middle-aged women on the hunt for a good read. I'm Emily.
And I'm Chris, and happy September, everyone. Believe
Back
it
to
or not.
school.
Gosh.
Yeah,
Talk about the fastest summer on record.
I know.
Yeah.
It went fast. I mean, we had a good time. We both did a lot of traveling and read a lot of books, which is why we're here to talk to you. We do need to talk about
I
our shirts
know. We
first.
didn't plan this. We just showed up wearing pretty much the same t-shirt.
Yeah, like when you used to call your bestie before school
Yeah.
started and decide what to wear. We are neighbors, but we did not do that.
We did not do that, and I did not see you leave the
No.
house.
Yeah, we just.
It happens.
Yeah, that's right.
Also, we shop at Kohl's, and
Exactly.
it's bound to happen. Anyway,
We're not sponsored by them.
no, we are not.
No.
But we thought we'd do three things in this video. We are going to recap our big book summer reading. We're going to share some of our favorite office supplies / back to school supplies because we love September and we were the geeky little kids who loved going to buy school supplies. Even though I hated school, I still loved school supplies.
I didn't
Yes.
even hate it.
I hated school.
Oh.
Oh, couldn't stand it. And then we're going to talk about Framed in September a little bit and some of our reading plans for that.
Which is a book challenge.
Reading art consumption challenge. Yes.
Very cool. So, should we start with our big books?
Sure. What did you actually read?
Yes, because we will link to what we wanted to read, which was a video we did early in the summer. But what I actually read was a lot more big books than I planned to read, which surprised me.
Yeah, nice.
I've been saying on the podcast how much I love a 200-page book, and then here I had a summer with a lot of big books.
Nice.
So the first one I finished was The Emperor of Gladness by Ocean Vuong, which is his new novel. It was 416 pages. It came out just in time for Big Book Summer.
Yeah. And now you enjoyed that a lot, but you've seen some reviews that were not as kind.
Yeah, there have been some challenging reviews for that one. There's also been a lot of love. It was an Oprah Book Club pick, so I think it's been up and down, the reviews for it. I really enjoyed it. It took place in a manufactured, not real town in Connecticut, which is where we live, but it was based on his growing up years in Glastonbury and East Hartford. So
Nice.
I thought it was a beautiful book, and I really enjoyed it with some hard subject matter, but beautifully written.
Yeah. Yeah, that's on my list for sure. So the first one I read was one I did plan on reading, which was The Shining by Stephen King. Loved it. This is the third time I've read that one. And I read it as a teen in my 40s and now in my late 50s. And I enjoyed it each time for different reasons. As a teen, the dad off his rocker appealed to me. In my 40s, I was a manager at that time, and the stress of working for the company got to me, or I related to that. And then this last time, the family dynamics and relationship and alcoholism and trying to be sober. I'm in recovery myself. I've been sober for 24 years, but reading about somebody who is in the early days of sobriety, it really hits my spots.
Yeah.
Just say that, and Stephen King's in recovery himself, so he definitely knows what he's writing about. I watched the movie adaptation that totally sucked. I'm going to say that, just put it out there. Jack Nicholson. It did not live up to my memory of the movie at all. I thought everything was overacted, and a lot of it was just shots of Jack Nicholson standing there looking whacked out. And then I watched the miniseries adaptation that was from '97, I believe. I'm not sure about that. And that was better than the movie, I thought, but still read the book. Neither really compares to the book, the novel itself. And the movie actually took a lot of liberties with things and added stuff that is not in the book.
Yeah.
So.
And you said it didn't really honor some of the characters as well that you
Right.
really enjoyed in the reading of the book.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yep. I mean, the book's usually better.
Usually. I mean, sometimes the movie can be good in different ways, but this is a case where it's
Yeah.
the movie. And, Stephen King was originally the screenwriter for it was Kubrick for that movie, and they had a difference of creative opinion, and Stephen King left that project, and I think it shows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I read one that was an arc at the time, but it actually is coming out on September 2nd, which is Tuesday. So you can get your hands on it soon. And it's called Buckeye by Patrick Ryan. And it was an epic family drama. I enjoyed it so much. The characters, I still think about them today. And I read it a couple months ago. I don't have it to show and tell because I sent it to our friend Kate, who just finished it and said it'll be in her top 10 for the year as well. It just was chosen for one of the big book clubs. I think maybe Barnes and Noble. I can't remember. I highly, highly recommend him. When I went to read the novel, I saw that a lot of people love his writing. He was a new to me author that I think I found through the Parnassus weekly video that she does about, like it's called the Lay Down Diaries. It's about books that are coming out or new books. And why am I blanking on her name? Ann Patchett.
Yeah.
Thanks. I was going to say Ann Kingman, who used to host a book podcast. Sorry, Ann Patchett.
Yeah.
It was actually dedicated, the novel was dedicated to Ann Patchett and her husband with Ann Patchett's married name, which is a little tricky thing. If you read the acknowledgments, you can kind of figure it out. So that's cool. They have a good friendship.
Very cool. Nice. I like that. Yeah. The next thing I read was A Fever in the Heartland, The Ku Klux Klan's Plot to Take Over America and the Woman Who Stopped Them. This is by Timothy Egan, and it wasn't on my radar as one I knew I would read. The hardcover is 432 pages. I listened to the audio on a road trip from Connecticut to Illinois to see my mom this summer, and it was 10 hours, 28 minutes, I believe. Egan reads it. It was so gripping. I mean, I highly recommend the audiobook. It's about this guy, DC, what is it, Chesterton? Oh, Stevenson, sorry, DC Stevenson. He was the big Ku Klux Klan leader in Indiana in the 20s and became a kind of a big boss. And the woman who stopped him, her name was Madge Oberholzer. And I thought the subtitle was a little misleading, and I did talk about this on a podcast episode, because the subtitle, The Woman Who Stopped Them, it makes it sound like there was an ongoing struggle or effort to stop him on her part. And what actually happened is she was brutally, repeatedly raped and, what is the word? Mutilated by this man, and died from her wounds. And she and her family pursued prosecution, supported the prosecution against this man, and that's what did bring him down. He ended up serving prison time for that. So the book, it's kind of scary, but that's awful to read about. But the infiltration of the KKK into American politics in the 20s is really horrifying to read about, and is reflected in today's political landscape again, unfortunately. So I do recommend it, just with some of those warnings, or trigger warnings. I know can be dicey, but for me, it's also, what are you in the mood to read? This is not. This is a hard book to read. I was going to say, unlike a different nonfiction book I'll talk about next.
Sometimes on those road trips, though, having a gripping book really helps the hours pass.
Oh my God, it was wild because, this is set, it's talking about Indiana, right? And I am driving through Indiana listening to this, and it was so creepy.
Yeah.
So creepy.
Yeah.
So again, that was A Fever in the Heartland by Timothy Egan.
I finished one that I can show and tell.
Nice.
Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. And this is a gothic novel, so it fit into our theme of ghost stories. There's not a ghost in the sense of like something wandering around in a mansion with white and saying, woo. It's the ghost of a woman who has passed. She died, and she's kind of haunting the mansion where a couple comes back to, including her husband and his new wife. And they come back to this mansion. They have met on the coast of, I believe, France is where they were. Is that right? I think so.
It's been,
I think
remember,
I'm looking at Chris.
Yeah,
Tell me, Chris, she read it years ago.
Yeah, well, you never know the odd things that we remember about books, right?
They were in Monte Carlo.
Okay.
Yeah, they met on the coast. They were vacationing. Well, he was vacationing. She was still working very hard for a woman that was kind of tough on her and got sick. And whilst she was sick, she was able to meet this man and spend time with him, and then he helped her escape her fate. Or did he?
Dum, dum, dum.
What we talked about when I talked about this on the podcast is it's really hard not to talk about this book and give spoilers. I really don't want to. I know it's a classic and a lot of people have read it. I had never read it. I'd never read Daphne du Maurier. I knew of this book because of a podcast that is no longer out there called The Readers, and Simon Savage one of the hosts used to talk about this being one of his favorite books of all time. So it's been on my radar for a while, and I was really happy to read it. I did listen to an audiobook version as well, which I'll put a link of that down below because there are several versions, and there are people who had read and listened to it that recommended the version that I ended up listening to. I too watched the original movie that was directed by Alfred Hitchcock, and I really enjoyed it. It was interesting to see. I did try the more recent movie, which is on Netflix, that I think came out around 2020 or something like that. It stars Armie Hammer.
Oh, gosh.
And he got into some trouble for some of his behavior, I think right as that movie was coming out. And, you know, I don't want to kink shame anyone. It came out that he had some really unusual kinks. I hope he's getting the help that he needs. But it did kind of color my ability to watch the movie because, you know, the character he's playing is a tough dude as well. So I didn't make it through that one, but I did enjoy the original Hitchcock film. And I do want to read her short story, The Birds, and then watch that movie as well. That's next up on my du Maurier reading.
Very cool. Well, the next book I read is one I recommend so highly to everyone in the world. And that is 80 Days, Nellie Bly and Elisabeth Bisland's historic making race around the world. This is by Matthew Goodman. It came in at 453 pages, and I loved every word of this. Matthew is just so excellent at creative nonfiction, narrative nonfiction, you know, the nonfiction that just sweeps you into a story. And what he does so well is, like, he really establishes these two characters, Bly and Bisland, as very different types of women with different career ambitions, but they're both writers. And Nellie Bly was working for the New York World, I think was the newspaper she was working for. And she was what was known as a stunt reporter, one of the very early investigative reporters who would put herself in situations like she got admitted to an insane asylum to report on inside conditions. And so one of the things she wanted to do was see if she could go around the world in fewer than 80 days. Jules Verne's Around the World in 80 Days is very popular. And so they pitched her tour around the world as also a way to see if it could be done just using regular public transportation, right? There's a competing, wasn't a newspaper, it was a magazine called The Cosmopolitan. The editor or owner of that magazine was kind of like, we need to send our own girl out on this. So lucky Elisabeth Bisland gets told to come into the office. And when she's told this is what the boss wants her to do, she's like, but I have tea tomorrow, you know? She had a big tea party planned. Anyway, one goes east, the other goes west, and they are traveling around the world. So it's about their experiences and how they handle things differently. There's a lot of great food writing in here, which is another thing Matthew excels at. And, you know, he even goes into the repercussions of what happens. one woman, wins this race. They Nellie didn't even know it was a race until quite later on. But the effects of this stunt, this event, really had repercussions through the decades. So I enjoyed not only learning about them before the race, but during the race, and then their lives after that. Loved it so much. As I said, it's a huggable book. I didn't bring it with me. It still must be under my pillow because I just want to sleep with it all the time. But again, that's 80 Days by Matthew Goodman. Definitely on my top 10 list for this year.
And he's been a guest on the podcast, so we'll put a link down below for you to see the episodes he's been on. He's also right here, Paris Undercover, I believe that's sitting right there. And then if Chris just turns her head, his how do I put? I can't do it without it. His Jewish food cookbook is right over there as well. So he's here in spirit with other books.
Indeed.
Yes. Well, I also finished a book called The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna. And this is a book that I crowdsourced because I was going to originally read one of her books called The Four Winds. The only book I've read of Hanna's is The Women, which is, I think, her most recent novel, and I loved it. And she's so prolific. I didn't know which book to read next, but I knew I wanted to read something else by her. The Four Winds, several of our listeners said, if you want to be sad and hot and dusty all summer, which we kind of had that already because we had a drought here, read that one because it is about the Great Depression. If you want to read one that is cold and has a different storyline, read The Great Alone. My daughter, who's also a Hannah fan, recommended that one. So I did. And it takes place in Alaska, which was definitely cold. It does have, just content warning, a storyline of domestic violence, which was really hard to read. But Hannah, especially in the author's note, made a point that she was trying to show people that back in the 70s, which is where part of the story takes place, women who were suffering from domestic violence didn't have many options. The courts were not in their favor at all. So she really does walk you through what it's like to live in a small town in Alaska, to spend a lot of your summer months where you've got those long hours preparing for the short months of winter where you can't have access to food and need to hunker down and have wood and all sorts of supplies. And that island life where it's, small town, everybody knows everybody in their business. But in this case, they know their business, but they can't do anything about what's happening because they know that it won't turn out well for the woman and her child who is witnessing the abuse. She is an amazing storyteller. I really enjoyed it. It was 435 pages. It went by really quickly. Page turner. I read it on a vacation. And I also did jump in and out of the audiobook, but mostly read it, I think, actually as an ebook.
Nice. Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, the other two big books that I plan to read that I mentioned in that prior video, I am still currently reading. So Margaret Fuller, this is the Library of America collected writings of Margaret Fuller. I've been reading these with a group this summer. We have our last meeting on September 20th, so I'm in the last chunk of this book, which is basically Fuller's writings from Europe and then also women in the 19th century. And then I'm reading The Weight of Ink by Rachel Kaddish. That's how I remember her last name. I did the thing. I was like, I can never remember her last name. And I was like, okay, Kaddish. I was like, Radish.
You did
Rachel
it.
Radish. But Kaddish is her last name. This is a really cool dual timeline chunkster. Contemporary time setting is focused on a woman who's an old professor. She's reaching forced retirement age. She's also having some physical challenges when a former student of hers that she doesn't even remember contacts her and says some really old papers were discovered in the ancestral home when an electrician popped out a panel to, update the electricity or add electricity. I don't remember now. Could you please come and look at them because I know that they're valuable. They could be valuable. And then the historic timeline is a woman who was Jewish, who is a refugee, from, I think, Portugal during the Inquisition. And so they've been in Amsterdam, and now she's in England. And it's the 1600s. And so part of the connection is establishing whether or not there was a Jewish community in London at this time, and then what the connection is. And I think I see another connection, but I won't talk about that. I am not that far into it, and it's going to be a slow read for me because I have these other assignments going on, but really enjoying it a whole lot.
And the reason we're talking about it her not finishing them is because the reading challenge was over as of Labor Day, which was September 1st.
Right.
And that has passed.
It has passed. And at first I was going to like just make myself, I was like, why?
Yeah.
Don't make yourself anything when it comes to reading. I mean, unless, you have a class or something, it's a different story. But I'm reading it for pleasure, and I want to enjoy it. So I actually got an e-copy too, as well as this, because, it is hard to carry this around.
They're also a little harder to read in bed in your e-readers.
They are, and it doesn't open very wide either. And I didn't want to break the spine totally to make it open.
Oh, break that spine.
Oh, I don't know. It's so pretty though. Like,
how do you feel about broken spines? I'm all about it. It's one of the first things I do.
I don't know about this though. It's so pretty.
Yeah, well,
it's gonna hurt my book.
The last one I read was another surprise. I just took this home over the weekend. It's called The Peculiar Gift of July by Ashley Ream. We are lucky that we get so many emails every day from publishers and publicists and authors telling us about books, and I read every one. And sometimes, I actually say, that sounds fantastic. Not sometimes, a lot of times. I say
a lot of times.
We have a lot of books that we are looking at and reading all the time. And this one really caught my eye because it takes place in a faux island off of the coast of Seattle that is, emulates, is that the right word? Is, what is the word I'm looking for? Based on, but isn't, the San Juan Islands or Bainbridge Island or Whidbey Island. So if you're familiar with the Pacific Northwest and know any of those, which I do and love, that's part of what caught my eye about this novel. And it is about a group of people living on an island. It's called Ebey Island. Ebey's End, I'm sorry. Ebey's End Island, and you have to get there by ferry. It's a group of characters, and a young woman named July shows up because she was adopted by a woman who was in a car accident and died. And the foster or social services, I guess, reached out to a distant cousin and asked if she'd be willing to take her in. The cousin lives on Ebey's End, and July arrives, and the story takes off from there. I read this so quickly. I just loved it so much. And I wasn't familiar with Ashley Ream. Apparently her debut novel, Clementine, was a big hit.
Oh, yeah.
Did you hear about that?
I heard about that. I think I might even have a copy at home.
Oh, interesting. Well, I might borrow it because I love her writing. And that's going to be made into a television series or a movie. I'm not sure which. This is her third novel. There was another novel in between. And it comes out on... Oh, it came out on July 1st.
Oh, cool.
So it's out in the world. And it was 416 pages, and I finished it on Labor Day.
Nice.
Loved it.
Perfect. Yeah.
Great cover, too.
Nice. Yeah. Love it. Wow. So that was a pretty good recap.
Yes.
Yeah. I didn't know we were going to be that thorough, but, you just can't help talking about great books or any books, really.
Yes.
I mean, yeah. So next up, we thought we'd share some of our back-to-school supplies, our office supplies that we love. Next to a bookstore, we are hot for stationery shops, office supply stores. Love them.
And often we can find those supplies in bookstores, which maybe I'll start with that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to show you my stack of notebooks. We have done videos before showing that I am a notebook fiend. I have different notebooks for different things that I do in my life, and it's kind of how I keep my brain in order. The first one I'll start with is this little one that was just purchased by my buddy over here, Chris, because she got to go to Parnassus Books in Nashville when she did a road trip. And she brought me back this wonderful little notebook that I think is going to become my new purse biblio adventure notebook for
Nice.
note taking.
It's perfect size for
It
that,
is.
isn't it?
And I am such a fan of wire-bound journals, which is why I don't mind like the whole break the binding thing. I like things to be able to lay flat and to flip them over like that. And Chris also just purchased me at a stationery shop one of these decomposition books, which I love these notebooks, but they have a new version that is wire on the top. I have several that have the wire down the side. I'm hugely a fan of these wire on the tops now.
Mm-hmm.
I had to jump on an airplane last summer, and my daughter had a baby unexpectedly very early, and I left all of my journaling and office supplies at home.
Painful.
It was so painful. It wasn't painful to be with the baby and have a good summer, but I did miss it. And I went to a store there and just bought like one of those back to school composition notebooks, but they happened to have a version like this, and I fell in love with the top one. So when I saw these coming out, I asked Chris if she had seen them.
And then the next day I did.
Yes.
I was at Ivy League Stationers, I believe, on Broadway, just down the street from Barnard College, across from Columbia University. They had them on the spinner rack.
So exciting.
So they had this size and then a smaller size with the top flip with pink flowers. And I got that one for my wife, Laura, because she loves the color pink.
So thoughtful. Should I keep going?
Sure.
This one I got this summer when I was visiting my son Jacob in Colorado. We went to the Aspen Farmers Market, and I saw this artist, and I just loved her work. And then I noticed that she has journals made with her painting. And I thought, oh my God, what a great idea. Her name is Emily Chaplin Fine Art. She had a lot with this aspen tree theme, which makes sense in Aspen, Colorado. It was really hard for me to choose, but I did choose one that was more of kind of a mountain scene instead. But she did have a lot with the aspen trees as well. And this one is lined inside. Here's one of her bookmarks as well. So I have an idea of what I want to use this journal for, which is a version of writing. And I will put her contact information down below. And then the other ones I use a lot for creative journaling are these. The brand is, I think they're all the Canson brand. And I mostly get these at Jerry's Artorama. And as you can see, I have them in every size. And it depends on what I want to be journaling about. Like this is usually big ideas and collage. And then down to the little one, which I carry with me every day. And it's so perfect for if I read a quote in a book that I want to journal about, or hear something on a podcast that I want to remember, or if there's a word or even a tea bag. I often take those tea bag things and stick them in here and use them as a writing prompt. I love these little ones. And this is the size that travels with me if I go on a vacation. Usually I have the time to grab one.
Yeah.
Which I didn't when Rachel had her baby.
Yeah, that happens.
Yes.
So, at that shop that I mentioned, the Ivy League Stationer shop, I found these cards, which I
Ooh.
love. They're grid paper index cards.
I've never seen that.
And not every place has them. I just ran out. I had a pack before. They're really cool to do different things with. So Laura and I use these a lot at home. So I got a pack for her and for me. Then I also got colored, these yellow. I have a bunch of different colors, and I don't color coordinate them in any particular, for any particular meaning. But I thought I would just get a pack of yellow.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm into yellow these days. Now, this is kind of like neon yellow. This is the one that I carry for Biblio Adventures. It's a moleskin. And I always put there's a password. I always put a little, the pen holder loop on them. And then I love the little pockets because you can keep money in there or whatever, emergency funds. And libraries are for everyone.
Yes.
I always love to put a little sticker on the front of my notebooks. And
you have a Morgan sticker, Morgan library sticker on the back of it. Did you notice that?
Yeah, this is They used to have little metal tabs
Mhm.
at the Morgan that you'd put on as like proof of admission. Now they have the little sticker. Now, this size, what is this? Is this A5? I can never get those sizes right.
Yeah.
I use for my bullet journal, my daily calendar, and so this one's almost full. So I have a new one coming up, and for this I bought like term 1917. Their new paper, newish paper, superior paper, extra low transparency. I love to write with the fountain pen. And, you know, sometimes with fountain pens, if the paper's too thin, you got a lot of ghosting from the other side or even bleed through. So I thought I would give this a try. Oh, yeah, A5.
Yep.
A5 medium. And then I already have the sticker I'm going to use on the front of this one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
Nice.
I cut a little slit in there just to put it in there so I would know when it was time to open it.
Look at you, so organized.
Well, you know, notebooks help you keep
They
organized,
do,
you know?
yeah.
And then I too am a fan. This is just a typical little notebook from Staples. I like to have this on my desk just to jot down notes and things.
Yeah. That's a nice size.
handy.
I like that.
Yeah, I like this. I have one. What is the company that has the orange notebooks? I can't think of their name right now.
Oh, Rodin.
Roadies. Yeah,
something
Rodin,
like that.
yeah.
I have one of those on my desk.
Yeah, so I have one that's like half this size.
Mhm.
It's long and narrow, and that's great for your desk as well.
I like that one because it's dots. I do love the dot paper, and that's hard to
Yes,
find.
Totally love dot paper.
Oh.
I bought this the same day that I bought the one that Emily showed up from that same stationer's store. I love bats, so I couldn't resist this. It's lined paper. And that's the decomposition book, right?
Mhm.
It's a brand. You see them in a lot of different bookstores. And now this one is from a different company
Yeah.
called Jalapeno Paper Company.
That is so
But they have the
cute.
classic, you know, composition thing. It's also lined paper. This has been my Margaret Fuller notebook.
Perfect.
So, yeah.
She's an adventurer. There's a lot of adventure theme on that.
I know,
notebook.
right?
Yeah.
Adventure. She's sly like a fox.
Mhm.
Yeah. So we just love office supplies. And if you have favorite office supplies, as well as whatever you're reading, we'd love to hear about it.
Indeed. I just want to show one more.
Oh, right. Yeah.
These are my new favorite things when I'm journaling. They're these big, thick, mega colored pencils. And I have 5 of them. I just love them so much. They have a really nice feel both in your hand because they're thick, and I write big. And then they also are just cool colors. And these are the ones I chose, but they had a whole rack at Jerry's Artorama, which is where I like to shop. I also got one of their mega sharpeners because they are, you know, big.
Important.
Yes. It's
nice.
important to keep your points sharpened.
Indeed, it is.
Ready to go.
Well, we've been talking up a storm today.
We have. Should we continue and just talk about the art
Yes. So
reading challenge?
that's a nice segue.
Yes.
From Jerry's Artorama. It's a art store here in Connecticut. I don't know if they're anywhere else, are they?
Well, I know they have online shopping, so we'll
Okay.
put a link down below. I think they are a chain.
Okay.
I'm pretty
I've only
sure.
seen 2, but they've both been in Connecticut.
Well, we'll find out,
We'll
and we
find
will
out.
let you know down
Yeah.
below.
So next up, we're going to talk about Framed in September, which is an art readathon. We learned about this through Hannah's books. Thank you, Hannah, for spreading word on this one. And it actually has 4 co-hosts. It's Hannah's books, Elisabeth at Bonkwin Books. I'm sorry if I didn't pronounce that correctly. Greg at Another Bibliophile Reads, and then Heather at HeatherGreg9975. The hashtags for this, before we forget, are Framed in September or hashtag Art Readathon. And it's reading books about art, about artists, experiencing art, all different types of art, performance art, painting, sculpture, architecture, which is one of the things I'm going to focus on. And I didn't bring my big book. I have a huge hardcover coffee table size book about architecture, basically American home architecture, house architecture, I should say, as opposed to like, industrial business architecture.
Yeah.
So that's one I'm going to read.
Cool. Well, I've talked about this on the podcast and on our BookTube channel before. As a matter of fact, it was one of the books I was hoping to finish for the Big Book Summer Challenge. But I, too, am taking this one in slowly. Natalie is going to be our guest in October. This is called Chasing Beauty, the life of Isabella Stewart Gardner. She is the brains behind the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum in Boston, which we talked about on episode 240. Is that right? Or 41?
41.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
We'll put that down in the notes below. And this is such an amazing story. I'm enjoying learning more about Isabella Stewart Gardner and how she became a student of art, how she collected art, who she rubbed shoulders with, and how she built her museum, which, talk about architecture.
Yeah.
It's a stunning work of architecture. Really recommend it.
Nice. So another book I'm going to be reading is one, this came about because my mom had this. I'm not sure how to pronounce Kathy Kolowitz, prints and drawings of her. I grew up with this print in my home. And now it is in my office at home because it's one that I took. My mom recently moved houses and had to do a lot of downsizing. So I always loved that print. And then I discovered that Mom had this book. And she kept it for me because she thought I might enjoy it. I don't know anything about this artist. There's some color plates in this book as well. A lot of her work, I know she's documenting a lot of hard things about life, protest, and sorry, I'm
you're fine.
wacky with the
I
book.
can get out of the way.
Yeah, so more to come on this, but this will be one of the main art books that I spend time with this month.
Lovely.
Yeah.
So I think we forgot to mention that the reason we were talking about big books is because of Sue's Big Book Summer Challenge.
Oh,
Sue is also a BookTuber at Book by Book.
Yes, and then also Melinda at A Web of Stories is the co-host this year. So sorry, we forgot to mention you guys' tags. We just think people can read our minds, apparently, and that everybody knows that you're both hosting Big Book Summer.
So we will put all of that information down below. We would love to know if you got through any big books this summer. Reminder that a big book is anything 400 pages or more. Doesn't matter if you e-read, audio listened, or read the hardcover or the print in any version. We would love to hear about it. Let us know about your school supplies. Let us know about favorite books about art or favorite museums, sculptures. We want to know everything.
Nosy.
She's got me pegged.
Everybody, thank you so much. We wish you lots of
Happy reading.